Hello, welcome to Chat with Dr. Kat. I'm Dr. Kat. It is wonderful to see you today. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and we wanted to bring you information about our skin, how to take care of our skin, and what are the best things and products and techniques that we could use. Right now, we're dealing with a lot of social media influence about our skincare. I feel like every time I turn around, there's a new product that's being highlighted. Is it good? Is it not? You know, you've got to do some deep dive into looking into what are those ingredients and what is important. And I wanted to bring you an expert today. Not only is she a doctor, but she's created her own skincare line, which, by the way, I already have my daughters using, which is fabulous. So far, the feedback has been absolutely amazing. It's a wonderful skincare line called Bright Girl, which we'll be talking more about as we introduce Dr. Angela Casey. Hello and welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kat. I'm so excited to be with you today.
I'm so glad to have you here because let me just tell everybody a little bit about you. She's a double board certified dermatologist, and a micrographic dermatology surgeon, which I want to get more into. The founder of Bright Girl, which is a clean pH balanced skincare line for teens, tweens, and college students, as well as myself. I wanted to try it as well. Head of dermatological surgery at OhioHealth Dermatology since 2013, and a member of the Forbes Health Advisory Board. In other words, she knows what she's talking about, and I am so looking forward to hearing more about how we should be taking care of our skin. And I believe in definitely one of your taglines I looked at was smart skin starts now, which I think is fabulous. And I want to get more into that a little bit later because, you know, I've really taught my daughters how to take care of their skin at an early age because I wanted them to get into the routine of not only at nighttime brushing your teeth and everything else, but showering at night, getting your body clean so that you can sleep, but also just different products to be using on different parts of your body in order to take care of your skin. So let's get into it. So as a surgeon, as a doctor, but also a mother of daughters, how does all that work, and how did it get you to the point of creating your own skincare line?
Well, it's really the intersection of those two worlds that you mentioned, Dr. Kat. My role as a mom of three teen and tween daughters, and any of your audience members who are parenting teenagers can certainly relate. And then combining that with my role as a micrographic dermatologic surgeon, which means basically in my dermatology practice, I practice in Columbus, Ohio. Every day, I am surgically removing skin cancers and treating skin damage, most of which started not when the patient turned 40 or 50, but started when that patient was a child or a teenager. So I'm now seeing these patients when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. But that sun damage has been brewing and accumulating over many decades. Knowing what I know and based on what I see in my practice, I think we can do so much better in medicine and healthcare to really shift that conversation to one of prevention. Like you mentioned, I am so happy to hear that you've prioritized teaching your own daughters
Yes.
the importance of caring for their skin. It's often missed in the busyness of our lives as parents, and we've got a million things going on. And yes, we focus on brushing and flossing teeth, making sure they have good hygiene. But the skincare conversation can be forgotten, it can be lost, it can be avoided because parents are confused and they don't know exactly what to tell their children or what products are safe. So it was those two worlds that really inspired Bright Girl, which is a brand that's formulated specifically for teens, tweens, and college students, but really takes out that friction point for parents as they ask, what skincare should I be recommending for my
Right.
young person? What ingredients are needed? What should I include in their skincare? What should I avoid in their skincare? I've done all the research and taken all the guesswork out. And our mission with the brand is not to sell a bunch of lotions and cleansers. That's all great. But it's really about equipping our young people with the tools, meaning the products and the
Yeah.
ingredients, and the tutelage, the understanding, the knowledge of how to care for their skin, because knowledge is power. And I know very firmly, based on all the data, the research, the evidence, when we start those good habits in the young years, we are much more likely to be successful, and that the large majority of skin damage is preventable. And that's our mission and vision with Bright Girl.
That's wonderful, because it is true. It's hygiene is not just about brushing the teeth and flossing and all of those things. It's everything. My daughters will not go to sleep without washing their face. They may say, "Oh my gosh, I'm too tired to shower," but never to wash their face and to moisturize and take care of their skin. It has been ingrained because my dad had skin cancer. Now he was bald. Ugh, he was bald and he would come home sometimes and he would just have these zapped marks. But he was always at the dermatologist and he was always applying sunscreen. He didn't want that to happen to us. So he educated us on quite a bit of that as well. And it's an interesting thing the other day because when we had our initial conversation and talking about skin cancer awareness, and I really went back because, I have two daughters that love to sunbathe. One in particular, she is a beach bunny. She just is. And when they were younger, they would joke and send us pictures, especially when they were at surf camp just a couple days a week. And I have this picture of them literally just coated in sunscreen. They said, "Is this enough?" And I'd get these pictures and I'd laugh. But as they started to get older, high school and now college, there was this trend with back to the oils again. And I remember when I was, in their age, there was always these oils and different things like that. And I've been saying it and, but sometimes they don't listen to the parent. They're listening to TikTok. They're listening to social media. They're listening to their friends. And I just had this amazing moment the other day because after we spoke, I really just talked about it a little bit more. And I did it subtly. And I just said, you've gotten to the point now where you need to really go and look. And my daughter called me. This happened this week. She called me from the store and she says, "You know what? I've decided to listen to you." And I said, "Okay, you got to narrow this down now. You're going to listen to me about what?" And she goes, "Yeah, the products I'm using when I tan are not great at all." She says, "But I found this other line." I am telling you, I got off the phone. I got teary-eyed. I called my husband. I said, "Oh my gosh," because a lot of times kids, tweens, young adults aren't thinking of the future. And I mean, they're preparing their lives, but they're not thinking about their skin or their health because they're young. And if you start them young, that's why, again, smart skin starts now. It gets them in that mindset to just take care of themselves and realize that it's lifelong. You don't just go to the doctor once or you go to the dentist once. It's something that you are constantly doing. And oftentimes skin, I think, does get a little glossed over, especially if it's not the new product. So what are your thoughts and feelings about traditional healthcare and what they talk about with taking care of our skin?
Traditional healthcare really has a model that allows for disease and illness to develop. And once it develops, we diagnose it and then we treat it. And there's really a lack of focus on prevention. In medical school, we had about a day of lectures on skin and dermatology in general, covering everything within dermatology within a day or so, and no discussion at all about skincare products, sunscreens, prevention, habits. even in dermatology residency, it's a real gap, and it is something we're working hard to change, that I'm working hard to change. And thankfully, I have a whole group of dermatologists behind me trying to create this movement that really focuses on prevention as it relates to skin health. But again, we are so ingrained in that traditional healthcare model that doesn't really allow or compensate physicians for taking the time to really counsel on these practices. So I do think that that is a real area for opportunity within healthcare in general and specifically within the dermatology space. And as you noted, Dr. Kat, our young people could care less about a skin cancer that might happen to them 30 or 40 years from now.
Right.
And they think that they are exempt from any of the aging, skin appearance issues that plague us as adults. It's just not on their radar. So I really think that the key with our teens, tweens, so I'm talking about our Gen Z, Gen Alpha, is to give them products that are so exceptional and so amazing that they cannot wait to use them every single day. That they are so excited to get that sunscreen on their skin and they don't feel like their day has started until they've completed that habit. Young people thrive on rituals and
Yes.
structure. And just as you mentioned about those wind down routines at the end of the day, taking a shower, brushing our teeth, washing our face, skincare is really an integral part of that routine and really resonates with teens and tweens. So when we as parents give them the gift of products that are tailor made for them, that feel so great on their skin, in a sense, we kind of trick them into those
Yes.
good habits. We keep them coming back for more. And then they realize how well their skin is performing and some of the issues they're having are clearing up. So they're getting that positive feedback, and that starts that healthy cycle. As you mentioned, it doesn't end after a year or two. This
No.
should be lifelong, just like having a healthy diet, just like getting enough sleep, just like exercising. These are habits that we really want to establish and continue with lifelong.
So, what age do you think they should start taking care of their skin?
I would argue they should start taking care of their skin from the moment they're born. Because it's true, when they're babies and they're birthed into this world, we are washing them with
Yes.
very gentle cleansers. We're moisturizing their skin. And when they get a little bit older, we're putting mineral sunscreens on them. So the skin care journey really starts from day one of their lives. But as to when individuals really develop agency over their skincare and we start seeing opinions among young people, generally around age 8 is what the studies show. And if you have any additional insight into that, but that is when young people are really starting to develop an opinion. They might be getting a little bit of influence from their peers. They have a little bit more interest in making these decisions for themselves. Whereas prior to that, they kind of just go along, oh, yeah, mom says to put on the sunscreen, or
Right.
mom's putting on my sunscreen for me. That's fine. I'm just going to let her do that so I can go on with my day and get to my sport or swimming or whatever we're doing. But then we see as they go into that age 8, 9, 10, etc., that they really are seeking very specific, better quality products and wanting to take part in that decision.
So, what are you thinking when you came up with these wonderful lines? Self care is health care, and smart skin starts now. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so let's start with the Smart Skin Starts Now. What we really wanted to convey with that messaging is that it's never too late to start a good skincare regimen. And this is something I talk with my patients about daily. I might see a 72-year-old woman for her first skin cancer, and she says to me, Dr. Casey, it's too late. Like, I've already done the damage. It's already on my skin, and I'm just going to go about my regular routine. And I have to redirect that patient and say, no, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And the habits that you start today at age 72 are going to impact your skin health 10 and 15 and 20 years from now, and hopefully even 30 years from now when you're still thriving at 102 years old. It's never too late. And I think that's an important message for parents. But on the flip side, it also conveys to our young people that now is the time. This is
Yes.
not something that we put off and then we deal with when we're 35 and we're starting to see those first signs of sun damage. We want to get ahead of it. And with Bright Girl, we really want to embrace that message of skin health. So we are not a brand that's focused on appearance or beauty or perfection, but really circling back to skin health and making that cool and interesting. And I think young people really latch on to that idea of being very knowledgeable and intelligent and being kind of the gurus of knowing this information, and then they can take it in and implement it themselves, and they can share it with their friends and family. That's really empowering for them.
It
The
is.
second, yeah, the second tagline about self-care
Mm-hmm.
is healthcare. I so firmly believe that, and I'm sure you see it in your practice all the time. If we are not taking time to be mindful, to perform those rituals that fill our cup and nourish our soul, skincare is not frivolous, it's not extra, it's not about appearance, it's about taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that is especially important for our young people who face so much confusion and stress and challenges. Why not give them that opportunity to do something kind for themselves
Yes.
so that they can check that box every day? I've done something nice for myself because I deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
And what young person doesn't deserve that positive message?
I do. I think you're exactly right with the positive message. And I know in my own household, and even when I've got a bunch of teenagers and young adults in my house, and they're all getting ready maybe to watch a movie, and they all say, "Okay, everybody, let's go get into our jammies. Let's wash our faces, and we'll come back." And I love that that's a part of it. And when they all come back in the room, I always make it a point to say, "Oh my gosh, you look so dewy and glowy, your face." And they're like, "Oh, thank you." It's such a thing, for your face to feel good and that they've done something. And I will say this, in trying Bright Girl, because I wanted to try it myself, and I wanted to get the feedback from my daughters. One of the things that they absolutely loved is that the face wash actually suds, right? It actually makes a foam. Because I think there are different products out there, and there's more power to them, that it's more of like a cream base, or it's a face milk wash. And the comment is usually, I don't feel like my face is clean enough. And so instantly they felt like there was this foam and they felt great about it. The toner was fantastic. They smelled a little bit like cinnamon cookies. And they made a comment. I was like, "Oh, you're right." It was wonderful. And then the other part was, because I just wanted them to try those three things at first, just the basic. They're going to do the mask next. But was the cream that they can use all day. I love that it's an all day and not 5 different steps that this one you have to remember it's this time and this, because I do believe with teens and tweens and college age, they do need simplicity. They need it to be simple, and if there's a few other things to add on, they can, because they like that part of it, and it's still great ingredients. But it was a product that didn't feel heavy. And me not being a teen, having teen skin, but I felt moisturized, and it wasn't heavy, because sometimes the products are heavy. And this is the other thing that I thought was interesting with some of the people I work with, because sometimes teenagers, adolescents, young adults get so caught up in all of these products you know. Then they have to wear something over their head because they can't have the product get into their hair. Then they have to have a pillowcase to match because then it gets stuck on the pillow. So this is now disrupting sleep. And a lot of it, I think, just sits on the skin. It really doesn't do anything. So let's get into that. Let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. What are the ingredients? What is something we should be having our kids avoid during this time? And what is something they actually need?
Yeah, so let's start with ingredients to avoid. And again, with Bright Girl, I wanted to take all the guesswork out for parents. I've done the research for you. I've pulled all the white papers. I've combed through hundreds, if not thousands, of dermatology articles and studies. We know that teen skin has unique characteristics that have to do with the skin barrier and the skin microbiome. And that's really impacted by the hormonal shifts that are occurring during the teenage years and the fact that there's a lot of cycling of hormones, especially for our young ladies. And for our young men, of course, they're developing higher levels of testosterone, which impacts oil production. And our young ladies also developing higher levels of testosterone, but then you have the monthly fluctuations thrown in there. So we really have to acknowledge that and respect how that's interacting with the skin as we're looking at ingredients and how we are going to best serve skin at this age. And it's very different from how we address skin care in our kiddos that are 8 and under and how we approach skincare as adults. So that's first and foremost. What we're seeing as a trend in from social media, from influencers, from celebrities, is this attraction to a lot of skincare products that are really tailored towards more mature skin. They might be
Right.
corrective, they might be very exfoliating, they might be designed to get rid of pigmentation, etc. But our 15 and 16-year-olds are seeing this and they're really interested because whoever is talking about it on social media has really beautiful skin and they're saying, this is the product that
Right.
saved my skin and made all the difference. So it's really an opportunity to have a conversation with our young people and kind of explain why that may not work so well for their skin. Excuse me. So, some of those ingredients that they are seeing are things like retinols, which help build collagen production and help with skin cell turnover. Retinols are very helpful in our teens who have acne. So,
Okay.
under the guidance of an esthetician or a dermatology provider, that retinol may play an important role for our teens and tweens, but you really want to get expert guidance on that. Antioxidants, so things like vitamin C serums, can be very irritating to teen skin. That's an ingredient that we commonly use as adults to correct skin damage and act as an extra layer of protection in our skin in addition to sunscreen.
Also,
But
spots, right? Spots that you use it in order to create that kind of, to take away some of the spots that you're seeing on your face. That's the vitamin C,
yeah,
correct?
vitamin C can help with correcting pigmentation, as can retinols actually, and retinols are even more effective at spot treating with sunspots, freckles, etc. But for our young people, again, it can be very disruptive to the skin barrier, and as can alpha hydroxy acids, things like glycolic acid, lactic acid. And then our young people don't need ingredients like peptides or growth factors or exosomes, but they're really fascinated by
Peptides
this
are
ingredient
huge right now.
because yeah, they're all over. They're in so many products, in eye creams and neck creams and face creams, and that's a whole nother thing. They don't need different products for different areas of the face. It really has become very overcomplicated. What we see in young people who are using these products is again that skin barrier disruption, which then leads to more irritation, more sensitivity, flaring of acne, flaring of eczema. So it's actually when teens and tweens use these products and they use too many of them or they're not using them under the guidance of a dermatologist, they actually move in the wrong direction of where they're aiming to go with their skin health goals. So instead of getting clearer, brighter, healthier skin, they're getting more irritated, redder, more inflamed skin. So it's important to recognize that. Likewise, those products can be very disruptive to the skin microbiome, which is really critical, just like our gut microbiome, that we want to nourish all the healthy bacteria and yeast and fungi and
Mm-hmm.
viruses that live on our skin. And those ingredients that I just mentioned can be really detrimental to those healthy organisms and can wipe them out, which then leaves your skin exposed and kind of sets the stage for inflammation. And inflammation is really at the root of, I say it's at the root of all things evil for
I
the skin.
know,
So
right?
it's really, and in our
And
bodies
in
in
our
general,
body.
but on
Yeah.
our skin, you can really see it. So whatever we can do to avoid inflammation and avoiding those ingredients that I just mentioned will really help with avoiding inflammation. So those are the bad ingredients. I'll pause there before we get into the essentials in case you have any questions or
Yeah,
anything you
I
wanted
do.
to double click on.
So because you were talking about hyaluronic acid and what was the other one that you were talking about? Those are
Well,
the
hyaluronic acid is good. I was talking about lactic acid, glycolic
okay,
acid, so
glycolic
alpha
acid.
hydroxy acids.
Okay, so all of those, alpha hydroxy, glycolic, and all the ones you just mentioned are in products and are being sold to kids. What is out of all of those, should they be using them at all? One. Two, what age could they start introducing some of those products onto their skin? And should they be avoiding all of them? I mean, just give me some like age group of when they can start using and when they should absolutely completely avoid.
So, not an absolute, but
Okay.
generally, as they get to age 19 or 20, they're okay to start using those. So, we see a lot of college students that are using like a glycolic acid based toner,
Right.
or they might be using an alpha hydroxy in their face cream or other products, or doing that a couple times a week, or using a product to exfoliate their skin. And generally, they're doing okay. Now, there's always exceptions. There are individuals with sensitive skin or skin that already has some baseline skin barrier disruption. Um, and then, as I mentioned, Dr. Kat, those ingredients that I mentioned, specifically the alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids like salicylic acid, retinols, are often used in acne treatment.
Okay.
So, with specific dermatology guidance and with the right supportive products, teens can be successful in using those. The danger is when they're using them without any sort of supervision or framework or without the right supportive skincare, and that's when we get into trouble.
And I see that, I know we're going to get into it a little bit more too when you're speaking about the products that are really bad, but a big push that I see right now on social media is for all of the Korean skincare line. Everything is about Korean skincare line. Now, I know there's also a lot about European, and my daughter was studying abroad, and we went to the pharmacies. Everything there is you go to a pharmacy, and that's where you get all your beauty products from. And just all the beautiful ingredients, natural, wonderful ingredients when you walk in, and that's pretty much it's not the rare, but it's the norm there. Where here in the United States, I just feel like there's so many, terrible products, which we'll get into right now. But before that, what do you think about the Korean skincare line, not only for teenagers and young adults, college age, but for women, aging skin? This is all being just, we're inundated with it.
Yeah. I think that there are a lot of good ingredients with it in Korean skincare. So I think Korean skincare, one of the faults with it is that there's often a lot of steps in those skincare regimens within Korean skincare. And with each of those steps, you introduce the possibility of a skin reaction or a skin sensitivity, especially when you're piling on too many things at once. But a lot of the philosophy with Korean skincare is really based on a more gentle, soothing, restorative approach, which is definitely moving in the right direction
Okay.
of what we know in today's day and age with all of the research we've done in dermatology. Back when you and I grew up, it was all about exfoliating and stripping and drying out the skin as much as we could. And we thought the more we dried it out, the better it was for our acne and better for our oily skin and blotchiness. We now recognize that it's the exact opposite. And when we strip and irritate and over exfoliate our skin, that leads to major problems. And on the flip side, when we use gentle pH balanced cleansers, when we're using really effective moisturizers that bring water into our skin and help seal and repair the skin barrier and keep that hydration in, when we're using those mineral based sunscreens to protect our skin, that is giving our skin this wonderful strength and resilience so that it can face everything that it encounters in our environment and really handle that in an effective way. Our skin is the mediator between our internal selves and our entire external world. It plays this tremendous role. And too often we overlook that and really don't appreciate the
Right.
functions it's serving every day. It's talking with our environment, with every allergen that floats by, with everything that we touch and come in contact with humidity or dry conditions, with heat, with cold. Our skin is regulating our bodies in the
Yes.
midst of all of these things that we face. So that's really tremendous. So getting back to the Korean skincare, when we can really strengthen and nourish and support and also soothe that inflammation, as we often see as a focus in Korean skincare, that's a win. You mentioned European skincare and all of these beautiful ingredients, and we have tremendous evidence about the wondrous gifts that we receive from nature that
Yes.
can incorporate into skincare. And we incorporated that within the Bright Girl line. Just a few examples: ashwagandha, turmeric, marshmallow root, chamomile, aloe. So, all of these botanicals that have been used really for centuries, if not millennia, clay in our masks that soothe our skin, they really are these tried and true ingredients, and we see them highlighted more, I think, in sometimes the European skincare. And also, there are very strict regulations in Europe about what can be
Yes.
included in skincare versus what we have here in the States. And unfortunately, in the States, we do have so many wonderful skincare brands, don't get me wrong, but we also have a lot of synthetic ingredients
Yes.
that are allowed and approved by the FDA. And we know that there can be some significant issues with those ingredients in regard to hormone disruption and absorption into the bloodstream and potential toxicity and accumulation.
And the scary part about it is that, again, children, adolescents, college age students tend to think that they're invincible, that it's not going to affect them. And it may not affect them immediately, or it may, but they don't realize that over time, keep putting those products into their body. I always talk about this app, Yucca app. I like to call it another name, and I always say I call it Yucca because all the Yucca ingredients that are in things. But Yucca app, I've had that on my children's phone, myself, my husband, because I want them to be smart about what they're purchasing. And sometimes it's something that has been, again, on social media, or they borrowed from a friend and they've tried it and it's wonderful. Okay, it may be all great, and one product can be so damaging that you have to put it down. You have to find something else because it can be very, very dangerous. And here's the other thing. So, because of my background and especially in research with ADHD, I was exposed to a tremendous amount of other people and their research. Because when I was there researching and, on the college campus and having to be there absolutely every day, I came across a lot of people and I was able to see all the different types of studies that were being done. And also, with what I do about how important diet is, especially, well, for everybody, but especially with small children, and not including a bunch of the artificial dyes and, flavorings and preservatives that can affect the brain so drastically to the point where it manifests behaviorally. And so, it's also products. There's certain products that can absolutely bring out a response. It doesn't have to be necessarily always a rash or when you eat something that will produce, stomach upset or, different things that could happen, but actually manifest behaviorally. So we have to really be mindful of what we're putting on our skin so that it doesn't affect our children behaviorally. So I wanted to bring that part in as well. The next thing I want to talk to you about is, the differences between, now I'm in California, okay? I'm in California, very, very different than the Midwest, very, very different from all, different parts. So, sunscreen is a thing we need to be thinking about all the time because we do have the majority of the time is sunny days. I always find it fascinating when people come to visit and they say, and it happens to be in the winter time, and they'll say, "You never cover your pool?" And I said, "Well, in 2 days it's going to be 85, so no." No, because we can swim year round, so it's different. And when college students, this is another thing, when I spoke to my daughters and they're deciding on, where they want to go, it's also looking at your environment. It's going to be very, very different. I remember with my oldest, I was trying to get her gloves and an umbrella and 'cause she's going to the East Coast and rain boots. And she was like, yeah, I don't think I need that. No. It was almost like, come on. I was being so cringe to bring out all that. Within 6 months of it turning into winter, it was, I need rain boots. I need those gloves. I am just covered, So what do you think about that? How do you work with, especially those students that are living in one environment and now going to another environment and maybe sunscreen is going to be different? I mean, tell me, what about sunscreen?
Yeah, so, well, you bring up a very good point in that there's no one size fits all when it
Right.
comes to skincare, and it is very dependent on the environments where we are. Are we in a cold, dry environment? Are we in a hot, humid environment? Are we at high altitude? Are we down at sea level? So all of these things affect everything from how much sun exposure we're getting to how much hydration our skin is getting. So, for example, when you are in a dry climate, say you're in Arizona and it's hot, your skin is constantly losing hydration to the external environment. And you may not even sweat because it's so dry, but you're getting dehydrated.
I
And
see.
anyone who's traveled to that area of the country has probably experienced that. You're very thirsty, but you're not actually sweating. It's so hot out. So it's very important that we are being extra cautious about restoring that hydration in our skin. And that might mean moisturizing more frequently, moisturizing with heavier products. So not a really light water-based lotion. You want to use something that's really thick and a little bit more occlusive. It's going to keep the hydration trapped in. When we're at high altitudes, we are more susceptible to sun exposure, and the ultraviolet radiation is much higher at higher altitude. So that's well established in individuals who are maybe skiers or hikers that sun exposure can be extra intense compared to someone who's sitting down at sea level on a cloudier day. It's also a myth that you don't have to wear sunscreen on cloudy days. I'm here to tell you that you're still
Yes.
going to get about 70 to 80% of those ultraviolet rays penetrating through the clouds. They also penetrate through windows. So if you're driving in a car, if your desk is positioned by a window, if you're flying on an airplane, you have to have sunscreen on. You just have to make sunscreen a non-negotiable every single day. And if I have to pick one thing for you guys to take away from this podcast, it is to put on sunscreen every morning, preferably a mineral-based sunscreen with an SPF 30 or higher. In mineral sunscreens, you're looking for ingredients like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide as those active ingredients. So it is, I think that the takeaway from this portion of the conversation is that it is important to tailor skincare to where an individual lives, what their activities are, what does their daily routine look like. Are our college students walking from building to building with between classes? Is it hot, cold, humid, etc.? Because when we're armed with that information and we can pivot and adjust accordingly, we're going to be happier and more successful with our skin health goals.
Well, I will say that in looking at, you have your Bright Plus Block, the sunscreen for Bright Girl. I have it here. I think that's wonderful in that as well, because I don't think they think about sunblock enough. I think they want it to be, oh my gosh, everybody's into, teenagers are all into what is going to be the rays. You know, what is happening? Can I lay out today? Is it worth it? You know, whether it's cloudy or not, they're very in tune to all of this because they have so much access. But a lot of times they don't like the mineral based because it weighs heavy on the skin. It creates a white residue. There's all of those things. So tell us about your product in regards to that. And then also for our moms and dads that are listening, what product line do you recommend for sunblock, sunscreen that you should be wearing every day that's not going to feel heavy or oily on the skin?
Yeah, so you bring up a really good point that mineral sunscreens have gotten a bad rap because historically they were thick, they were pasty, they left a whitish cast when they went on the skin. So, because of that, our society in general, and especially our young people, are going to automatically say no thank you to that. The good news is that we've evolved far beyond those initial formulations with the mineral sunscreens. And in formulating the Bright Girl products, I'm so proud of the sunscreens that we've created because they truly are exceptional and they blend beautifully and transparently, completely invisible. I knew that if we did not
Right.
deliver the very best, the very supreme, most exceptional, most gorgeous sunscreen formulation to this very fickle and
Yes.
picky audience, that they were not going to use it. And Dr. Kat, I have been overwhelmed with excitement, and it makes my heart smile every time I get an email or a comment from a young person that just says, this sunscreen has really changed my life. I've never experienced a sunscreen like this. I can't wait to put it on every day. With our mineral sunscreens, we offer a tinted version and a
That's
transparent
so great.
version. And teens love that tinted
Yes.
version because it gives a little bit of sheer coverage. It helps with hydrating their skin. So it also has hyaluronic acid in it and some vitamin E to nourish the skin. And it gives this really beautiful glow to the skin. And a lot of them use it in to replace their foundation or their tinted moisturizer or any sort of powder because they find they don't need it. Their skin
Yes.
looks so fabulous just with this sunscreen. And so it's such a win because they're feeling good, their skin's looking great, and they're getting an SPF 44 and a mineral sunscreen plus our bright block tinted sunscreen protects against blue light also.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're like checking all the
All the
boxes
boxes.
for our
Wow.
young people who are in front of computers, in front of their phones all the time. We're protecting that blue light as well. Most sunscreens do not protect against blue light. So you want to look specifically for tinted mineral sunscreens. And then likewise, our sheer mineral sunscreen It is amazing. So we just got back from a dermatology conference up in New York City, the Atlantic Derm Society meeting a couple weeks ago. And we have hundreds of dermatologists coming by our Bright Girl booth, and they all want to know about it. And they're like, "What? This is so interesting." And or I've heard about your brand, etc. They're trying on this sheer mineral sunscreen and on all skin types from the very darkest of dark to the fairest of fair. And they are saying, Dr. Casey, this is exceptional. We have not seen sunscreens like this. Our patients are going to love this. So now we're launching in a bunch of more practices. We're
That's
growing.
wonderful.
But it is so exciting to be in an era where we do have these gorgeous mineral sunscreens that really exceed expectations, and are so cosmetically pleasing that are a very educated and discerning audience is choosing them over and over again.
It's so important. And, the beginning of our conversation today was exactly that. My daughter finding products that she was able to find right away running to the store that she hadn't found before. And I think it's evolved, but it's evolved recently because there's been a lot of trying on different things. This product doesn't have this product has this, but what is it? So I absolutely am happy about this because it does make a huge difference. I mean, look, I was that mom that only used mineral based, and I tried every single product when they were little, everything. And some were a little bit heavier, some were a little bit thinner. And when you say put a white cast, I mean, it was like putting chalk sometimes on their little bodies. And I would say, okay, let's just smooth it all in. Let's just get it all in. And the length of time and having to get all of it in, and there's still, but that was something I was not going to move away from, but I did try, other.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You were way ahead of most parents. And I always loved when I was sunscreening their backs and they couldn't see like how it was just like a white sheet. And they're like, is it rubbed in? I'm like, yeah, you're
Yes,
good.
you're good.
Good.
It's so true. And when I am with the two girls, what I would start doing is I would rub it all on and then I'd write in it so the other one could laugh, because I figured if I didn't do that and make it funny, it was just, and then I was, okay, that's okay, and I would be telling them to rub it in. And they did. They got to a certain age where they were like, come on, like this is too much. This is too much. And then, it was literally shifting product after product after product. And then once they got into high school, it became about, well, why doesn't mine smell like, what you smell at the beach? Because it was all these, products that everyone was using with the great name that everyone wanted, but it had all the nasty stuff in it that was carcinogenics. And I was just, sometimes I would give in, or what I didn't know, and that's part of the process. But now your kids will start to evolve and become more mindful when I think you give them the power. And this is a side note. I remember with my younger one, she had a best friend who absolutely loved and still loves scary movies. The scarier, the better. Okay. I'm not going to pay anyone to scare me. I won't do it. And it's funny, just because of what I do. If it's something psychological, I am there and I am just zoned in. But a clown with a balloon that lives in a gutter, sorry, I'm not going to watch it. It's just not who I am. So, but what I said to her, she got to the point where she says, I feel like I can make my own decision. And I said, okay, I have one request that you must follow. And she said, okay. And I said, and then I'm going to let you decide. I want you to read what I read. When you come to me and ask me, I go onto this parenting website that gives you information about the movie, the feedback some of the kids gave after they watched it, and I want you to look at it. And so she said, I promise. And so she would tell me, she says, "Oh, I'm going over. May I go over? We're going to watch this movie." She says, "And I've already checked it out. I'm okay with it. I looked at some of these things happening, and I'm okay with that." And so many other times she said, she asked me to watch this movie, but I looked it up and I just figured that is not something I want to see. So I said to her, we have to find another movie. It empowered her. It empowered her. And I think it's the same thing if we fuel our kids with knowledge, right? Fuel our kids with the knowledge and the independence to make that decision about these products, sunscreens, and what's going on TikTok, and having certain apps tell us is that a good product or not. That independence will hopefully move them forward into making better judgment choices for themselves, and realizing that you will be 40 later, you will be 50, and you're going to be dealing with some of the choices later. Again, that goes back to your smart skin starts now. I love that. Okay. Now, you did touch on a little bit. Oh, wait, before that, I did ask if you could give us a product to the moms and dads out there. What product line? I know yours is fabulous, and I know it's geared towards kids. I'm sure they can use. I mean, I'm using it already because, and it does. It's just that lotion is face cream is so amazing. But what product do you recommend for aging skin in regards to sunscreen that's mineral based?
Well, we all, as you mentioned, we all use the Bright Girl
You do.
products. My husband uses them. I have a lot of patients that are in their 70s and 80s using them. But if I had to choose other brands that really compare and I think almost measure up in terms of that elegance and that nice absorption and transparency, I love a brand called Isdin. It's Isdin. They have some really gorgeous lightweight mineral sunscreens. They offer both sheer and tinted options. So that is a favorite go-to brand. They're pricier. Are they better than us? Probably not. They're a little pricier because they're geared towards that adult audience, but we sell them at my practice. I'm very, very happy with those. And then another brand that I love is Elta MD. And that's a very popular sunscreen line recommended by a lot of dermatologists. I would just caution your listeners to be really aware of the ingredients that are listed because Elta MD has a wide range of sunscreens, and some are chemical sunscreens and some are mineral sunscreens. So it's not mineral across the board. And same with Isdin for that matter, but Isdin skews more towards mineral. But you just want to be aware because often those chemical sunscreen ingredients, so we're talking about ingredients like avobenzone, oxybenzone, octinoxate, there's a whole list of them. There are about 12 to 13 that are FDA approved in the US. Those can be very irritating and inflammatory to sensitive skin. Individuals who don't have sensitive skin do great with them, and there usually aren't any issues. They're also commonly used as body sunscreens because they do absorb more easily compared to the mineral sunscreens in general, unless you're getting those mineral sunscreens that are really specifically formulated to go on transparently, and those are typically a little bit pricier. But the chemical sunscreens, it's important for your audience to be aware that they are absorbed more readily into the skin compared to mineral sunscreen ingredients, which really sit more on top of the skin. And that the chemical sunscreens have also been found to be absorbed into the bloodstream. So when you take blood samples from individuals that use chemical sunscreens on a regular basis, you will find that chemical sunscreen in their blood. We've done a lot of research in this in dermatology. There's been a lot of statements. There's been a lot of media hoopla over this. Of course, the media jumped on. They're like, did you know these chemicals are getting into your blood when you put on your sunscreen? And that's created a lot of fear mongering in society. We haven't found any detrimental or harmful effects for those chemicals getting into your bloodstream. But as individuals, we all have to make personal decisions and just be
Right.
informed. about what works. My stance is that a chemical sunscreen is better than no sunscreen at all. So if that's
Okay.
the only thing you're going to use or the only thing you have access to, that far outweighs any potential risk from those ingredients. I'll be honest, I use chemical sunscreen sprays on my kids when we're on vacation because it's just easier
Right.
and they're more likely to get that sunscreen on and therefore avoid a sunburn, which is really, really damaging to the skin.
Yes, I know there was several times where I had to do the same just because I wanted them to have it on because they were not, especially as teenagers, were not going to be putting on mineral base. It just wasn't going to happen. And I remember just like, and they knew it. They knew it. I said, but you know what?
Oh yeah, you can I know, and you can like smell you're
Ah,
inhaling the
yes,
chemicals. I mean, it's not great, but it is sometimes what's necessary and it's quick and you can
right.
get that comprehensive coverage and avoid the sunburn. So there's a win, right? As parents, we just have to kind of pick our
Yes,
battles
yes.
and sometimes we just do the best that we can.
You know, it's so true because really the whole goal is to get that sunscreen on. And when they're racing down to the water, whether it's the pool or the ocean or the lake, and they are just so eager, you do, but you got to get it on before they get out there, especially if they're on the water with those sun rays. So I agree with you 100%. I know that's so funny. Okay, so I know that you talked about what you do as a surgeon, and how does that compare to just someone who is just doing dermatological work? There's a big difference, correct?
A very big difference, very big
Okay.
difference. So in my practice, I do almost exclusively a procedure called Mohs micrographic surgery, which is basically skin cancer surgery. So patient comes in with their diagnosed skin cancer. They've usually been referred by their dermatologist. I then anesthetize the area, surgically remove their skin cancer based on what I clinically believe to be the borders. I then take that piece of skin that I've removed surgically and it goes down the hall to our lab where it's processed by our techs so that I can look at that patient's skin under the microscope. So this is all happening same day while the patient's in office. When I'm looking at their skin under the microscope, it's allowing me to look at all of the margins to determine where the cancer starts and stops and where the healthy skin is, and giving a basically three-dimensional view of how that skin cancer is growing within their skin and making sure we're clear all the way around it at the depth and all the peripheral margins. If we didn't get it with the first pass, I map out where those cancer cells are remaining. I go back to the patient, take a little bit more in that specific area, and then bring it back to the lab again. We keep checking it, so on. Once the patient's clear, I then perform reconstructive surgery in my office same day. So patient comes in with their skin cancer, they leave without it, and everything's been reconstructed. They go on to heal. My job is to get the skin cancer out and make sure that nobody ever can tell that they had surgery on their face. So hiding that scar and making everything as beautiful as possible.
That's
So
wonderful.
that's what I do. I also do some cosmetic dermatology in my practice. So Botox, fillers. I used to do a lot of lasers. I've kind of moved away from that just as my skin cancer practice has gotten busier. Compared to general dermatologists who are doing everything from skin checks where they're screening your skin and looking at all your moles and looking out for skin cancers, to treating psoriasis, to acne, to eczema, to other rashes. Like that is what's done in the general dermatology setting. So a little bit different from what I do. I'm board certified in dermatology and micrographic dermatologic surgery. It's just that my practice has skewed more towards the skin cancer treatment, and that's what I'm fellowship trained in. And it's really what I love to do, helping those patients every day.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned Botox and fillers. because there is a trend also with that on social media that people within their mid 20s should start now using Botox so that it doesn't seem so obvious later on. What do you think about that? One. And what do you think about Botox and fillers in general? Safe, not safe? What do you think?
Well, we have many decades of evidence now on Botox and fillers and these long-term studies that really don't demonstrate any detrimental effects or any indication that using those products, if you stop them, that you're worse off compared to if you had never started them, which is a question I get almost daily in my practice. Like, if I do this for 2 years and then I stop, is my skin suddenly all going to
Just
fall and sag?
right.
No, it's not going to do that. I love Botox as a preventative measure. So, getting back to that whole concept of prevention as it relates to our skin health, and for the Botox more as an appearance related prevention. When we get Botox on board in individuals at an early age, and I am a fan of that, maybe not in the early 20s, but late 20s, early 30s, we get ahead of all the wear and tear that occurs on the skin from the muscles within our face, constantly placing stress and strain on our skin, on our collagen, on our elastic fibers. Our skin, kind of think of it like a cotton t-shirt. And if you're pulling and stretching it all the time, it's going to get loose and saggy. If you keep that cotton t-shirt confined and you never really stretch it, everything's going to be a little tighter and a little
Oh,
bit stronger.
interesting.
And that's what Botox does. There are absolutely no studies that indicate that stopping Botox at any point is going to be harmful. You can use it as long as you want, stop it whenever you want. But what I will say, we have established that individuals who use Botox are always ahead in terms of their skin appearance compared to individuals who never Botoxed in their life. They've
Interesting.
done
I
some
like that.
interesting studies with
Yeah.
identical twins that have lived similar lifestyles and similar environments. And the twin who got Botox ages much more gracefully compared to the twin who does not. So that's kind of taking out all the factors of genetics and lifestyle factors and environment, and you're really looking at how is the Botox affecting one twin versus another. Fillers are a whole different category. A lot of my patients get the two confused or think that they should be using filler to get rid of their forehead wrinkles. Generally not. Fillers are more used to replace volume in our skin that's been lost. So as we age, we start to get some regression of our bone structure. We start to get some drooping of the fat pads that sit in our face, in addition to those skin texture changes where our skin is becoming a little bit thinner, a little bit saggier because we are constantly losing collagen from the time we are in our early 20s and beyond. We're losing that collagen about 1% per year. And then our collagen levels just drop off a cliff during menopause, and they
Yeah.
can drop by sometimes 20 to 30%. We can see this big loss, which is why some of the women who are listening may feel like, I hit my early 50s and all of a sudden everything changed and I looked very different. It's because of that collagen loss. So the fillers are essentially kind of plumping that skin back up, giving a little bit of support from down below, maybe filling in some lines and wrinkles, and really giving a bit more structure to our skin. I would just advise a lot of caution with who you have doing your injections, whether it's Botox or filler. We've all seen celebrities that have gone too far in one
Yes.
direction, and we all probably know people in our neighborhoods or societies that just have that puffy pillow face look because they've been overfilled. So there's a fine line between restoring an individual's beautiful natural self versus kind of overdoing it and just trying to push and plump, and that's going to really distort facial architecture and give an individual a very specific and artificial look.
So with that, let me ask you this. There's been a lot of talk in the media and social media, especially with some of these fabulous actors. One of my favorite, Nicole Kidman, who is in, seems like every single movie you turn around, she's in it, okay? She's in it and fabulous. But she has looked extremely different in a lot of these different films, where her face used to be extremely narrow, now it was wider, more frozen look way back when, now it's wider. Now there's this switch, and I can, off the top of my head, I can think of Nicole Kidman, Demi Moore, what's the other one? Lohan. They all started looking very full and kind of, the lips, everything. And then now, all of a sudden, they look extremely youthful. Extremely youthful. What's happening?
So, a lot of celebrities and individuals have moved away from that trend, I would say about 10 to 15 years ago, where they were getting a lot of fillers. That was the look. You had those nice round apple cheeks and, really defined jawline. Everything was kind of plumped up. A lot of individuals are getting all of those fillers dissolved. So they are going into dermatology or plastic surgery practices. We have an injection called hyaluronidase, which essentially dissolves hyaluronic acid-based fillers, which are the large majority of fillers that are on the market. And because of the way trends have changed, and also I think maybe a frustration of individuals all feeling like we were moving towards this like standardized appearance,
Yes.
right? You will notice those celebrities that you mentioned, as well as many others that we can think of. There was a similarity, a common
Yes.
theme among how all of them looked, and they started to lose their unique features, their
Correct.
unique beauty that was specific to them. So that's one thing. And then we don't know all the details of what other plastic surgery procedures are being done. We
Yes.
are in a day and age where we can do very small, minor cosmetic procedures. There's a lot more knowledge about how to optimally perform those procedures. That's not as much in my specialty, although I do consume a lot of that information because it overlaps with what I do to a certain extent. And I want to be able to counsel patients and send them in the right direction when they need to be referred for those procedures. But we don't know all the details on what those celebrities are having done, but I think as it relates to facial fullness and then lack of fullness, that's one thing. I also think that the GLP-1 drugs have also changed the landscape dramatically. So even though all of those celebrities that you just mentioned, probably I would be surprised if they were on GLP-1s because they are naturally thin. I think that there is a lot more widespread use of those in
Yes.
today's society. And one of the big effects is, of course, is they're losing weight everywhere. It often shows up first and foremost in women's faces. So we've
Right.
seen some celebrities that have, Kelly Osbourne is one that comes to mind. She used to have this beautiful,
Oh my goodness.
round,
Yes.
cute face, and now she looks almost skeletal. So, even if a celebrity or an individual is using those medications to try to lose 5 or 10 pounds, a lot of that's going to show up in their face.
Right.
And it's just going to be more dramatic there than it is on the rest of their body.
Thank you for that information because I think that is important for people to hear, especially moms and dads and anyone listening right now. I think it is vital for us to, again, talk about what's going on with celebrities and, all of that. Being in California, in the location of where I live, we do actually see celebrities on the regular. And sometimes it has been, wow, that does not look like the person that we're seeing, or wow, they look so much different and better in person without all of that other stuff going on. I will say Nicole Kidman, she's in this show right now, Margot's Got Money, Margot something or other on Paramount. She just looks fabulous. She just seems like the old Nicole Kidman. Her face, her energy, her beauty, everything is back. There for a while, it just seemed like she got lost, not her talent. But I just think as a society, if you want to feel better with a little nip tuck here and there, little Botox, using facial products, whatever it is to make you feel better as long as you're being safe, have at it. Do it. If you want to age in a different way, and some people say, just embrace your age. Okay. Yes, everybody should be embracing their age and embracing what they look like. But if you want to feel better and look better in your mind, have at it. Go and do it. Everyone's going to age differently. So we need to respect. It's almost like I always say, people get sad differently, people grieve differently, people are happier differently, and we need to be more tolerant and accepting of other people. And I just think as women, and now men more so than ever, we're very hypercritical of a wrinkle here, a wrinkle there. And I think what we need to do is just embrace how people feel for themselves. And, an episode like today, you gave us so much amazing and wonderful information for many ages. I will say this. Your skincare line is amazing. Bright Girl. I loved the way it felt on my face. The feedback I got from my daughters, it was very important that I wanted to be able to have them try it before I said anything here today. It is a wonderful product. It smells yummy. That toner, I don't know, it just smells so yummy and so sweet. And the product feels so wonderful on the face. And not just from my daughter's perspective, but from myself as well, because of course I wanted to try. But all in all, everything you said is, yes, fantastic. But the sunscreen that you've talked about, I also like that you said that not only teenage girls, tweens, and college age, but everyone can use these products. The sunscreen line, I think that's great. Thank you for the examples of the other.
Well, you can use our sunscreens soon, but we have completely sold out of them, Dr. Kat.
That's a good problem to have.
I think it's a good problem to have, but it makes me so happy because it really speaks to how our society is craving these really special, elegant formulations that our brand is hitting the market when it comes to that. But then as a brand, it's also like, oh, we've got all this demand and we're in Skin Cancer Awareness Month right now, or heading into summer. So soon they will be back on the market. So if anybody is listening and they hop on our website and they see those are sold out, they are sold out, but hopefully to be replenished soon. We are working very actively on it.
Again, a good problem to have. But it will be on our website as well, chatwithdrkat.com. We'll have a link to your website where people can get the products. But it's not just on your website. Where else can they get your products?
They can get us on Nordstrom.com. So Nordstrom, Macy's.com, Beauty Space by Space NK. So we're in about 300 Beauty Space locations across the country. Also at mybeautyspace.com, their website. You can also find us in hundreds of dermatology practices across the country. You can find a list on our website and also on Amazon. So any of those places, we make it super easy. Free shipping with a lot of those retailers, free shipping on the Bright Girl website with a certain order amount. So really accessible. We really want to get this skincare, high quality skincare into the hands of as many people as we can so we can help more people. And I think your audience will also find the price points are very accessible. Most of our products are in the $20 to $30 range.
That's
so
wonderful.
You're not going to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these, but they really are benchmarked against those premium dermatology brands, and that is what sets them apart and makes them special. And as you've nicely mentioned so many times throughout the podcast, Dr. Kat, they provide that immediate positive feedback.
Yes.
The smell, the feel, the experience. And that is very important when it comes to personal care products. We need that immediate positive feedback, but also those accumulated results that occur with clearing the skin, brightening the skin, evening out the skin tone. And that is what sets those habits and really establishes those good practices.
And look, here's the bottom line. If it's not a product that's easy to use and it doesn't feel good, kids are not going to use it. They're just not. And so when you get this positive feedback right away, and I did. Look, I was not going to come here and just say that. I said, I want you to try it. Tell me what you think. And I went and I waited. And the moment she said, again, that toner, it smells so good. I said, I think so too.
It's like a day at the spa. It gives you like a warm, cozy hug.
It really is. It's wonderful because there have been other toners that I've tried that just, I don't know, it almost feels like I'm putting water on my face. You know, I want to feel a little something, but I don't want to feel a lot because I do have very, very sensitive skin. But I will say this. I think it's a great product. I also like the fact that it's a nice size product. It's not this tiny little product, you know, you're spending $30 for, but it's this big. You know, you want it to last a while because you want them to develop that habit. It's really important. Right. So thank you, everyone, for joining today. Today was very, very important, May being Skin Cancer Awareness Month. It's so, so important that we take care of our skin. And we need to be able to teach our youth, our children at a young age, on how to take care of their skin. We were talking about, you know, age seems to be this number of when we should start introducing. And I think that's kind of when they get out of that baby phase. You know, when they're still in first grade, second grade, they're still kind of babies. Third grade, when they're 8 years old, they're wanting to be more grown up. They start emulating things after their mom, bigger sisters, whoever it is. It can start very, very simple. It can begin very, very simple, just learning how to wash their face, having them sit with you while you're taking care of your skin. It's important for us as parents to teach our children how to start at an early age and to get used to taking care of our health care. Physical, doctor's appointments, dental appointments, dermatology appointments. That was another thing. I went to the dermatologist to make sure my body was checked out, moles, everything. And I put it in our group chat. I said, hey, I went and got my exam today. And they said, what for? And I said, just to make sure everything is okay. I want them to know routine. Speak to your children about that. I will say, great product, Bright Girl. Go out, learn about this product, go and try it. It's amazing. Bright Girl, fantastic. The link will be on our website, chatwithdrkat.com. You'll get that information there with a direct link, but it sounds like it's everywhere. Nordstrom.com, Macy's.com, Amazon. Of course, Amazon. We love our Amazon. And probably your local dermatology establishments. Anyway, when we know better, we do better. We learned a lot today, so let's get out there and make better choices. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you. You were fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kat.
Have a great day. Bye.